Hey, it's Arsenette from Rambling Rican. Yes, I have a cold. That's why my voice sounds weird. So, anyway, it's been a couple weeks since my last vlog, and during the interim, two updates went up. One was the Sasuke 32 part 1, which is technically the third video of Rambling Rican in Japan, 2016, and the other was the Final Stage podcast. And both are up on YouTube, and of course Final Stage podcast is up on iTunes and on Podbean. And thanks for the the nice responses to that. I've gotten a lot of that one, since that's the longest we've ever done. It was up to 4 hours, and 3/4 of that was Viking. I am just so happy a lot of people either had never heard of it, so they got to hear a lot of it and were interested in trying to find copies of, and others just reminiscing, because there were a lot of people that actually saw Viking when it first aired on the SPN2. So I'm very, very happy about that. I love talking about Viking. In fact, in order, people have asked me which shows I like the most. Number one is Viking. Like, I won't say by a long shot, but pretty high. Immediately followed by Sportsman number 1, and more on that later, and then Sasuke. And what I like in general is that Sasuke competitors were in all three, so that's where they're all connected in my head. And so anyway, the Sportsman number 1 thing, so every year, I think maybe once or twice, I'm trying to remember if it's like spring and fall or something to that effect. It seems to be twice a year, which is fine with me because I like Sports Danchi. It's a Sports Danchi Grand Prix, and Yubei and I actually call it Discount Sportsman, because for anyone that has ever seen Sportsman number 1, that is basically it, just the celebrity version and a little bit pared down. I happen to like both the celebrity version and the pro sportsman, but I definitely prefer pro sportsman. And I think it's because there's so many professional, like relevant professional athletes, and sometimes even in their heyday, all competing in like random events. And a lot of my favorite quote unquote obstacles and events are in sportsman, and just, yeah, So they made this announcement during the last Sports Danchi, which I think at this point has been about a week. When I get sick, I kind of like lose track of days. So I think it has been within a week. So they made an announcement, and it was funny because they actually showed Kane. Sportsman number 1 is property of Monster 9 and has been. And if I'm not mistaken, when they did the bankruptcy for Monster 9, the only thing that was saved out of their archive in terms of like continuing for future purposes was Sasuke. That's it. You know, TBS saved Sasuke from the pile. I would assume they bought it from the bankruptcy court. I don't know. I know they had at least partial on that, and now they have full. But Sportsman stopped. In fact, the last full Sportsman, if I'm not mistaken, was 2009, where Daisuke Miyazaki, you know, Mr. Handball, had won his 3rd tournament. And the last quote-unquote Sportsman event, like with the actual title, was a year after that, which was just a Monster Box special. That was when they finally had like straight up Sasuke All-Stars on there, and you had, you know, Takeda and Nagano and Shingo all competing in the Monster Box. And that was the last like great hurrah of that show. And then shortly after that, Monster 9 imploded, and then all of it went down. And Sportsman at that point had been on television in Japan for 20 years. So when that went down, that was significant. So I love that show. So in the middle of Sports Danchi, they had all of the competitors current to that event all stand in front of this I guess stage, screen, whatever. And sometimes they have where, you know, at least when I know Sports Danchi's been on for I think about 2 to 3 years, and what they used to do before is that they would have, like one celebrity from the past come and compete in like one event or something like that. And this time they just ran a highlight reel of Pro Sportsman #1. Like, they had Kane Kasugi in that. Like, wait, oh my god. And at the end they said they're gonna have it back. Now, it's not gonna be Pro Sportsman #1. Everybody knows that. However, what they're doing is that using Sports Danchi as the template, the one that we've been seeing the last few years, they're gonna have a pro version of that, having current professional athletes. In fact, they showed current Olympic medalists from like gymnastics and stuff like that. Again, that's why I loved Sportsman before, because it was relevant. They were at that time at the height of their. So it's just, oh god, I love this. So I'm really freaking looking forward to that. And it says 2017. I don't know when. All I know is I'm gonna watch the heck out of that show. So yeah, so I guess now, Sports Danchi is gonna be going up high. Right now it's behind Sasuke, but not by much, because the reason why I love Sportsman in general is that you really get the opportunity to see each athlete perform. And it's by the format. The format has it where you have everybody participating in like the first 2 events. Each person is given points according to their placement in said events, and then they carry these points all the way to the end of the show. After a while, they start dropping, like the last 8, the last 4, that sort of thing. But for the majority of the show, you're seeing everybody. And you can have somebody that's in last place catapult all the way up, to the top 10, top 5, just by virtue of how they do in each said event. And it's exciting. So, as opposed to, okay, that person really sucked at one event, but if they had the opportunity to do this other one, they might have. This has the opportunity of doing that. And I've seen where people coming from like dead last, or some other ones that were leading like crazy and then dropped off the face of the earth. That happens too. And I like the point system because, at least for me, it seems a lot more fair. And from a viewing perspective, I get to see more of these people over an extended period of time. So I love that format. And it's not like 1,000 people at once. I think it's 30? 30, I think, is what they start. I'm sure Yube would correct me a little bit later on that. But yeah, I like that a lot. Now, of course, that eliminates a lot of people, but again, that gives it more credence on who ends up on that list. So it's extremely important. Like, every single person is relevant and matters. And so, yeah, I'm totally looking forward to it. Oh my god, I would die if Kane came back. Are you freaking kidding me? No, I doubt that would happen, but damn, he's still in really, really good shape. Like, seriously, he's in really, really good shape. And so, yeah, I don't even think he's hit 40 yet, has he? He's like 38, 39. No, I think he's like 40, 41 now. I know he's a couple years younger than I. Yeah, I'm 44. Ugh. Anyway, yeah, he's still in it. Oh, if you can only accept that invitation. Anyway, so that's the Sports Danchi Sportsman #1 thing that happened within the last week. On my last vlog, and more importantly on the Final Stage podcast, we discussed at length the whole Ninja Warrior Esquire Labor Day weekend thing, and then the subsequent weeks, since they now have a good portion of the episodes on demand on Esquire TV.com. Anyway, Esquire Network's online website, and I think like DVR, like the on demand on your cable. So yeah, I'm really, really happy about that. And again, I've discussed it quite a bit length, so feel free to check the Final Stage podcast on that one. And then of course all the related things that happen in Twitter, and I think they also used it on YouTube, where they actually showed clips of the 25 reasons to worship Ninja Warrior. And that's when I found out that William has never seen it before. So when I brought up the sharks thing, they had no idea what I was talking about. So yeah, But yeah, please look into the last episode. And yes, it is the longest. I have gotten the most feedback out of that, surprisingly, which is great. And again, because most people don't talk about Viking, and Viking's already now 10 years old. Yeah, 2005, 2006. And yeah, it's been a while, but that is so influential to even current shows like American Ninja Warrior. I mean, there are obstacles from Viking in American Ninja Warrior. And they haven't touched all of them, but I'm curious now that they're running into issues where they're like running out of options. I'm curious if they're even going to go into, the archive of Viking to see if they can get more different type obstacles that are there, because I know they haven't exhausted all of them from there. But some of the major ones that everybody remembers do come from Viking, and from an obstacle standpoint, it's an interesting show to watch. I love it because again, I talk about it at length in the podcast, so feel free to check that out. Regarding the Ninja Warrior Weekend Universal Tuber, personal preferences aside, I agree with you and hope that both Ninja Warrior and American Ninja Warrior can coexist on American television. Yes! I hope for a state of affairs in which everyone is free to legally watch whatever they want, with the relationship between the two helping to prop up both, keeping both relevant and bringing in new fans that can explore both shows and pick their favorites instead of being shut out entirely of anything but the NW format. Yes! I definitely agree, because I want to go back to, I guess, almost like the G4/M9 era, where both were on television, and if you liked one or the other or both, you didn't have this fight like, oh, this one's better than the other and whatever, because that's kind of going on now. So I'm hoping now that we'll have to wait until 2017 where we get Sasuke back in full force and current. So it's just nice being a Sasuke fan again, because now you can, as opposed to, oh, well, you only watch it pirated, yada, yada, yada. That's not going to happen anymore, and I'm really excited. I'm a little nervous how Esquire/Comcast NBC is going to be influencing Sasuke in Japan, but I'll deal with that in 2017. It's almost a relief to be retired at this point. That way I can just watch it as a fan and just walk away from all the rest of the stuff, and I think that's a whole lot better for everybody involved. It's me, Deez. I badly want to watch Sasuke on TV. Yeah, I know, you're in the Philippines! By the way, I changed my name, maybe changing the name back again. I'm still Deez Nuts, I call it Leet. 1337, guy but a different name. Yeah, I'm hoping with everything coming back in the United States next year, and I think there will be a Ninja Warrior edit. I would be surprised if there isn't one. Let's just say it that way. I'm hoping that once that's created, that would permeate worldwide. And again, to go back to how it was before, where everybody has a chance to see it in their own countries. So I'm hoping for that. So keeping fingers crossed, Deez. Good luck! And by the way, thanks guys for the comments. I really appreciate when there's feedback. A lot of people have been sending me messages through Twitter. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm just happy people actually watch the videos, and I love sharing my passion for Sasuke and everything that's attached to it with as many people possible. So, and I think that's why I wanted to try to develop at least a YouTube presence for that reason, because that's its own audience. The blog has its own audience, and that's been doing fantastic. Thank you. And so I wanted to try this. I want to see how it goes now that we're going back into Sasuke back in the US. I probably have more to talk about when it comes to that. I'll continue doing these videos. In fact, the next one that's coming up is the part 2 of day 1 of Sasuke 32, which would be video number 4 on the Rambling Rican series. That one's taking me a little bit because I'm trying to figure out how not to have that an hour. And so what I'm trying to do also is make sure that I have just the events that happened, and at worst I'll have a separate video of like the behind the scenes stuff with what was shown on television, because I've already done an entire rant video on that. So if you're interested in what I actually thought of what was on television. So my hope here is to show what was actually happening that never made it on television. So I'm going back and forth with that. I've changed the format of it about 2 or 3 times, but I should have that up within a week or so. It's just taking me a little bit longer because I'm trying to get the narrative as positive as possible, which there is a lot of. It's just trying to make that balance so everybody knows what it is that I'm trying to say, at the same time of showing videos. One of the questions that I had, Emily had mentioned, which is true, will there be points where I actually show the video without me talking over it or music over it? A lot of it probably not. There's like a lot of crosstalk. If anybody's done any kind of videos, heck, like if you're an American Ninja Warrior, trying to record a conversation while there's like 1,600 people around you all talking at the same time. I didn't have a dedicated mic where I would do like a straight up interview. I didn't do that. In fact, there was one that I tried doing with Nagano, and I'm gonna see if I can try to salvage it a little bit. It's not that it was like windy or anything like that. It's just, there's just a lot of crowd noise. The event is going on in the background. You have a whole bunch of people basically in the equivalent of a food court, and it's difficult to hear. So there are options also, you know, to do subtitles and whatever. And there's some other ones where they're just signing autographs and talking, just general banter, or even not saying anything at all. There were points where, you know, Shinko just sat there and started doing a lot of signing and didn't say much of anything. And most of the conversations that happened away from the camera, and that was of course by request. You know, not everything has to be recorded, especially when talking candidly. You don't want those things recorded. So, but I will at least mention the types of information they were talking about, even if you don't hear a lot of it. Things like Nagano having the giggle fits when he saw the album cover. You know, things like that are easy, but as you can tell, there was a lot of talking in the background, so unless I isolate little portions of it, you'll still hear everybody else's conversation. I didn't have the expressed idea of doing like straight up interviews. That was the difference that I wanted to do this year than last year, and last year didn't work out so hot, and this time I didn't even bother, and I preferred it that way because I got it to see more. They were a lot more genuine that way, rather than, hey, I now have to make this prepared response. In fact, I had one for Nagano, a nice prepared response, which he wasn't prepared for, and he could tell, he's like, oh god, I have to do this. And then even then I couldn't hear it that well. And then the translator that I had used, again, it was on the spot, his English was a little bit harder to understand, so I would have to have the whole thing straight up translated from Japanese, and if I can even understand it with the audio, it's a little difficult to tell, but we'll see. Still messing with that, and I'll get back to you on what I'm gonna end up doing. So that's gonna take me at least a few days to figure out. I already scrapped a couple, so we'll see. But yeah, that should be the next video. I had asked this year if anybody wanted the calendar, and I've actually gotten a couple of resounding yeses, which is great. It doesn't cost me anything to make, so I just, you know, upload it on the website and people can get it if they want. The previous years have been okay in terms of how many were ordered. There were more in the first year than it was in the second year. Probably because it was also so late. What I like doing is having current photos, and one of the events that pulls it so far into the end of the year is the Sendai event. The Sendai event is like the first or second week of November. And so by the time I end up getting those photos and then some other ones, in fact I got some photos already from Morimoto, which I'm actually eager to use. He sent it over like a couple days ago, so I'm really looking forward to that. So yeah, that's current stuff. In fact, that's like over the weekend that he sent those. So yeah, but I'm gonna wait for the Sendai event, and then another couple events. You know how they always end up like meeting with each other. There's some scheduled events coming up that I want Jean to take photos of, and try to take from those. I'm probably gonna do it not as many photos on one page. That would mean, of course, less photos of people, but I think it'll be a little bit more personal that way. Leave me a comment if you have any preference. The first year I had like a lot of little photos and like I jammed a lot of stuff in there. Second year was a little bit less, like no more than 5 on 1 month. And let me know if you're interested in that sort of thing, or if you have a preference, or if you really don't care. I wanted to try to do like maybe 1 or 2 photos per month, but again, that cuts down how many are actually featured. But so I'm still kind of messing with that. I still have until, you know, the beginning of November to even start messing with the format of it. So yeah, leave me comments on if you're interested in that. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, just go onto my blog and see the previous years. I did at least some screen caps of it. I know it only lasts up there for about 6 to 8 months, and then it's taken down, and then, you know, the next year's is up, that sort of thing. And yeah, so just keep me posted on what you want to see for this year's calendar, and yeah, I'll try to make it happen. Look forward to the next video, which should be the Sasuke 32, the actual competition part, and wish me luck on putting that together. So hopefully people are liking them. I'm trying to make it more personal so you can actually see what my experience was like, and hopefully you like that. Just again, leave me comments and let me know how you like these things. So until the next time, take care.